Hi, my name is AJ Cole, and I'm the punter for the Las Vegas Raiders, and you are now watching Spotlight Raiders Talk.
To last with the webs I'm weaving, I could change the past with all I'm achieving. Got my foot on gas, never stop competing. If you break like glass, then this life's gonna eat 'em. Make mistakes real fast, then you learn how to beat 'em. If you take off the cast, you can see all the healing. If the pain's in the past, move on from the grave and put your foot on the gas.
What is going on, everybody? What is going on? What is going on? We are live, ladies and gentlemen. We are live. We are live with some sports, man. I'm waiting for Charge Up Podcast to cam up at this moment so we can have this show. And there he goes, ladies and gentlemen. And we are live, ladies and gentlemen. We are live on the Spotlight Raiders Talk. I'm your host, Darian of the Spotlight Raiders Talk. And this is your first time ever being at our YouTube page. We highly suggest that you subscribe, hit the bell button, and get the latest news in all Raiders news. But we do have a special guest here for week one's preview against the Los Angeles Chargers. And we have my guy from Charge Up Bolts Podcast. Thank you for coming on to the show. I know that you're as late over there in the UK and you are in another country to do this show with me. So it's definitely a blessing to have you here. And good evening compared to my good afternoon here. So how are you today, sir?
Hey, Dorian, thanks for having me, buddy. Yeah, it's good to be here, man. Just for you Raiders fans out there, Charged Up Bolts podcast been running now. This is our third year. Three of us based in the UK, and John Ayres was based in Orange County. He's now in Dripping Springs, Texas. So a bit of an international theme to our podcast. Most of us Chargers fans in the UK have been following the team, around the time LaDainian Tomlinson was running riot on the field. So, it's good to be here, man. It's good to be talking football. Great game last night. The AFC West going to be crazy this season. I'm sure we'll get into all that.
Unfortunately, my power cord got kicked out of my computer, so I'm actually on my phone doing this now. Unfortunately, I'm waiting for my computer to boot back up.
Things happen, man. Things happen.
Difficulties and everything of that nature. But I'm here right now. I'm back. And how long you been a Chargers fan, knowing that you're all the way from the UK? I mean, was you born and raised in the UK, or was it something that you like? That's what I'm trying to figure out here as a Raiders fan.
Okay. Here we go.
What's going on?
So I lived in West Berlin in the mid 80s. Okay, my stepfather was in the British Army. We obviously lived in the British sector, and we used to receive American Forces Network TV. Now, we only had two channels out in Germany, two English channels, the British Services TV and the American Forces Network TV. So we used to get NFL games. So I picked up the game quite quickly, understood the basics of the rules, the 4 downs and 4 quarters, 11v11, offense, defense. And for years, I was a neutral, okay? And then in 2009, my wife and I flew out with the kids. We went to San Diego. I was like, that's my team. Now, here's how the Brit works, okay? You'll get the bandwagon fans that'll jump on, like what happened with the Seahawks. I was like, there's no way I'm going to follow Green Bay, the Packers. You'll never get me up to Wisconsin in the winter. You're never getting a season ticket. I was never following a team in red because of my soccer team. The Dolphins was too easy. The 49ers was too easy because of Dan Marino. It was too easy. So I was like, right, we've been to San Diego. We're now Chargers fans. So that was it. 2009. Been following the Bolts ever since.
Wow, that's a great story, because even though me being a Raiders fan and not being from the West Coast, it's really tough to try to convince the people that actually live on the West Coast that we're actually fans. So it's just sitting here like me being from Philadelphia, being a Raiders fan, but I did travel back and forth to Oakland when they was in Oakland back in '98. As a kid, I used to travel back and forth to Oakland, visit family, and be a part of the culture out there. So being a part of the culture, it just gravitated me to not be an Eagles fan. I know I'm from Philadelphia, but I'm like, I wear this ugly green. Like the silver and black was just one of some of the best colors I ever seen, like as a kid. So I'm like, okay, this is going to be my team from now on, and this is what I rock with ever since 1998. So that's a quick background about me being from Philadelphia and knowing that this is a football town, and we're very passionate about our sports in Philadelphia, but I'm just not an Eagles fan. I could be anything else in Philadelphia but an Eagles fan. So,
well, the thing is, it's funny you should say that, because you'll see an awful lot of people in the United Kingdom walking around with a New York Yankees hat on, or walking around in a Raiders hat because of the connection with NWA. Now you go up to a lot of those, you go look to those folks and say, who the Raiders got this weekend? They'll go, who? That's not always the case. Football is growing in the UK. There's generally a full stadium for every single international series game. We have coverage pretty much 24/7 if you've got Game Pass. Some of our terrestrial channels show football. There's an awful lot of blogs and podcasts out there. The game is very popular. A lot of the MLB, the NBA, and NHL is also popular in the UK as well. It's just hard with the time zone. I'm already looking at the schedule, seeing where I need to take a holiday from work, because, prime example, fortunately, I'm on leave. I'm on holiday on Friday. Thursday night football's Chargers Chiefs. So straight away, for the next 6 months, you're pretty much planning your life around the football schedule.
And I want to do this shout out to Raider 187. He said he's all the way from Germany. So Spotlight Raider Nation for life. Shout out to you, man. Being over there in another country. I think it's so dope that you have football fans in other countries outside of the United States. And it is good to see that football is, because football out there is really considered soccer. If you want to, that's the first thing they think of. But because I know most people over there call it American football as well. So it's pretty interesting to see, knowing that I didn't even know y'all was from the UK when I reached out. I was like, oh, this is completely different. It's refreshing that we get to see people that are American football fans that actually love, especially the team in the AFC West. So let's get down to the nitty-gritty of things, man. It's week 1. We see Thursday night football. We see how the Bills have kind of dominated the Rams in week 1. Shout out to the Bills. I did that game yesterday, so shout out to the Bills. But this is a rematch. This is a rematch of 9 months ago. 9 months ago, when Brandon Staley called the timeout. And I know, as a Chargers fan, I know you was like, why did he call this timeout? So, what are your thoughts going into this game, knowing that we are Raiders fans and we ride off into the sunset with that going to the playoffs?
There's a couple of things that spring to mind straight away. I do believe this is a revenge game, and there's quotes already on social media from a number of media outlets from Justin Herbert saying he's thought about this game since the day after it happened. And there'll be other players in the Chargers roster and Brandon Staley as well that we're thinking about that. Now, on the Charged Up Bolts podcast, I've been saying all summer, if I'm Brandon Staley, if I'm Tom Telesco, I'm making the Chargers watch that Raiders game every day. Every day. You're not going home until we've seen replay of that tape, because at the end of the day, the Raiders finished 10-7. You did a job. You got through a tough division into playoffs. But the Chargers did what they've managed to do for the last 8, 9, 10 years, and that's find ways to lose. So that's the first thing that comes to mind. It's a revenge game. But now we're in a position in arguably the toughest National Football League division there has ever been since we went to a 32-team league. Chiefs, Broncos have improved. Raiders have got potentially a superb head coach in Josh McDaniels. You've got Mick Lombardi to come in and Patrick Graham to do the offense and defensive coordination jobs.
Mm-hmm.
You've now got a Chargers team that's got Justin Herbert, arguably one of the best quarterbacks in the league, entering his third season. Brandon Staley's now figuring out what he wants to do, and the front office has basically walked the walk. They've put their money where their mouth is, signed the likes of Khalil Mack, J.C. Jackson, etc.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there's a lot of pressure on both franchises. One, to move on from last season, improve, and secondly, to get out of the division, because it's going to be tough. We already know the Chiefs are probably going to win 12 games. So for the Raiders and the Chargers, the first step is to win the divisional games, which starts obviously on Sunday. From there, we've got to build momentum and hope that, Denver have a poor season. The Chiefs are the Chiefs, even without Tyreek Hill, but you've got Andy Reid. So they're going to be the team to beat. The entire probably conference runs through Buffalo and Kansas City right now. And unfortunately, for the Raiders and the Chargers, we're in the mix of what's going to be a really, really tough division. So it's a bit of a change of dynamic this time around, I think.
All right, so I'm about to enter the studio. So let me just get out of this real quick. Okay. All right. So I don't know what's going on. It's the United States internet. Sorry to say, but this division is really tough. It's a really, really tough division. I think all 4 teams upgraded to make this one of the best divisions in football in the AFC West, which I think is the best division in football, and I think is going to have to go through our division to get to the Super Bowl. That's just my personal opinion. Now, with this game, I don't blame you. If I'm Brandon Staley, I am saying, like, okay, we're going to watch this game every day and what adjustments what we did wrong to try to beat the Raiders this Sunday. Now, you got to fail to realize that it's a whole new regime in Las Vegas with McDaniels, new regime, new players, new acquisitions to the team. So, and same thing for the Chargers. It's not a new regime as far as coaches wise, but it's a new regime as far as like new players, like a J.C. Jackson, and now Khalil Mack is going up against his team that drafted him. It's a lot of storylines that goes into this week, this pivotal game. People say that it might not be a pivotal game, but I completely disagree. I think this is week 1 playoff game, in my opinion. because Khalil Mack, like I said, coming back to play against his old team in the division on top of that. So it makes it even more important. We get Devontae Adams from the Green Bay Packers. Y'all go get J.C. Jackson. We trade for Rock Ya-Sin. We made a lot of moves because like you said the Chiefs is going to win 12 games. If they win a division, it's going to be the Raiders and the Chargers battle for number 2 in that division.
Yeah.
And it's just a realistic thing. People say, oh, the Raiders going to win the division, or they say the Chargers going to win the division. I'm a realistic Raider fan to a point where until the Chiefs is knocked off their throne, right now they are predicted to win the division.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, the first storyline is J.C. Jackson doesn't look like he's playing on Sunday. So, we was hoping J.C. Jackson would go up against Devontae Adams. I mean, Adams has had 2 phenomenal seasons in Green Bay, 1,300 yards in 2020 and over 1,500 yards in 2021. And it's whether or not Derek Carr's going to get the time in the pocket behind what is a suspect offensive line to whether, he can get that productivity. But Adams is a real threat. And if the Chargers DBs are not on their game on Sunday, they're going to get beaten up. And that's one of the issues that we're going to have to face is we've signed J.C. Jackson. He will not play. Can Michael Davis and Asante Samuel Jr. Step up to the mark and hopefully come up with a good performance, because we struggled last year in coverage in certain areas. Derwin James can't do it all himself. But that's a big loss for us. I mean, Darren Waller as well is a massive threat. Over the last few years, the Chargers have struggled to stop the premier tight ends in the league, and Waller for me is definitely one of those. So there are some really interesting narratives, as you said, Dorian.
Yeah, it's definitely the matchups is really the narrative too. So let's get into that too. As far as that defensive line, y'all added Khalil Mack to that defensive line. Our offensive line is totally different.
Yeah.
But I believe in the Josh McDaniels offensive line, even though like Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack are a great tandem. I really think they are. And I mean, even though Khalil Mack really haven't been healthy the last couple of years when he was in Chicago, he gets to play week 1 against his former teammate and friend Derek Carr. It's going to be very interesting to watch. But how do you feel about your defensive line going up against our revamped offensive line? Because for me, in my personal opinion, the game is going to be won in the trenches, and vice versa for us, because y'all have a good offensive line and we have a good defensive line, even without Yana Nagawa, and we traded him away for Rock Ya-Sin, but we able to get Chandler Jones in free agency. So how you feel about vice versa with your offensive line and our defensive line versus our offensive line versus your defensive line?
So the Chargers' run defense last year, as absolutely stunk. It was about as solid as a wet paper bag. And for once, the Chargers' front office, they went out and invested in the defensive line. Bit of common sense. Sebastian Joseph Day is going to add a lot of value to that run defense. And I think the Chargers, that's where we'll improve. It couldn't get much worse.
Mm-hmm.
I think that my concern for the Chargers is Bosa and Khalil Mack will fly out the traps early. You might see Derwin James playing as an hybrid edge, and we've got Chris Rumph. Now Rump's come back; he's added another 10 pounds to his mass. He's got a lot to prove from his rookie season. So you've also got the likes of Van Noy there as well. So we have added the pieces. It's whether they can get the chemistry, whether or not we can get Las Vegas off the field. Because what I've seen in previous years is when offenses get rolling, defenses get gassed, and it becomes harder and harder and harder to change the game. Then the offense gets on the field, they start making mistakes, the defense is back on. The Chargers last year, we got ourselves into positions where we're chasing the game. And if we do that, we're in trouble. If we can get in front early, force a few 3-and-outs, get back into the field, score some more points, and put a bit of a gap between us, whether it's the Raiders or whoever else, I think that's where the Chargers will see some strength. But I think stopping the run it cannot get any worse than it did last year. I mean, Rex Burkett of the Houston Texans absolutely torched us. I mean, what is that all about? That needs to stop. I think up front, Joey Bosa has really missed having Melvin Ingram. And I think that's why we went out in free agency and got Khalil Mack from the Bears. It was a smart move. It needed to happen because we were suffering in depth pieces in that part of the game. But I'm certainly looking forward to seeing Sebastian Joseph Day. And the other one that we haven't spoke about is Kenneth Murray. Kenneth Murray, his job is on the line because if he doesn't produce this year, he's gone. I tell you now, Brandon Staley comes across as what I would call a leader's leader. I was ex-military, 27 years in the army, so I know a bit about leadership. And when I look at Brandon Staley, I see someone that will get the best out of their team. But I think he's also got a ruthless streak. We saw the two blown coverages of special teams against Dallas in preseason. If that happens, you're going to be cut. You're going to be out of there. And I think Kenneth Murray, there's a lot of pressure on his shoulders this year to stand up and show what he's made of and prove that he deserves a spot on the final 53. It's going to be interesting. The Raiders, I think Josh Jacobs, your Britton Browns, your Zamir Whites, they've got a really good opportunity to test the Chargers' run defense early on. Now, McDaniels has got a decision to make. Does he let loose with Carr and Devontae Adams, or does he test a run defense, or does he mix and match it up and really find the weaknesses of the Chargers? And I think that's where, if I was a Raiders coordinator, that's where I'd be looking to exploit those weaknesses.
Yeah, and the thing about Kenneth Murray, like I was really high on him coming out of Oklahoma, him and CeeDee Lamb. I was really like, they were the two people that I thought that we could probably go get in the draft as far as the Raiders go, but we went a completely different route, which they're no longer on this football team, which I won't get into at that point. But I just feel right now, I feel like our offensive line is very underestimated, meaning like I feel like we are going to be the underdog as far as the offensive line go, because people fail to realize in that playoff, even though it's preseason, the Patriots played their first team defense, and we went right down the field on their first team defense. Even though that Patriots defense was a top 10 defense the previous year, even though they did lose some players, but our starting offensive line was able to move down the field. And I feel like with the coaches that came in from Josh McDaniels, is that I just think that like Khalil Mack and Bosa is going to get there some way, somehow. But it's not going to be an all-night consistent thing. Because one thing about Josh McDaniels, he's learned from being a head coach before that you have to make adjustments on the fly. And I think that he's going to do that. I think he's going to do that. And I'm not taking nothing away from Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack in this defensive line, because Joey Bosa's been doing it for a while now. So we already know he's been doing it without somebody on the opposite side, like caliber, like a Khalil Mack. But now we have another tandem on our defensive side with Max Crosby and Chandler Jones against this Chargers offensive line, which was one of the best in football. And I think now we have a guy in Chandler Jones that was, to me, is better than Yannick Ngakoue. And I'm going to just say why. And the people in the chat might say different, but I feel like Chandler Jones can stop the run and stop the pass. Yannick couldn't stop the run last year. And that's when the first time that y'all played us, y'all ran to his side so many times, Austin Eckler had a field day against Yannick Ngakoue on that side. So now with our defensive line, we have Patrick Graham. That's a guy that doesn't scheme out of one set of defense. He schemes out of different sets of defense. How do you feel about, your offensive line against our defensive line now that we kind of upgraded almost every part of our defense since last year? What's your thoughts? How you feel that's going to turn out?
I think our offensive line, there's been a lot of questions about Trey Pipkins at right tackle. He is now the right tackle ahead of Storm Norton. That is the one key area where you might see Donald Parham coming in to help with the blocking situation if things get out of hand. But you saw Rashawn Slater last year. He walked in day one. He looked like an all-pro. He's going to get better. Zion Johnson, absolute machine. He's been making blocks in training camp. He's looked really good, and I think he's going to add a lot of stability and balance to that right-hand side of that offensive line. Corey Linsley, arguably one of the best centres in the National Football League. And then Matt Filer, he's an established left guard. It's going to be interesting because Chandler Jones and Max Crosby are absolutely superb. You know, they will make plays, they will get pressures, they will get hits. And I wouldn't be surprised if they get a sack each on Sunday, targeting Trey Pipkins. But it's all ifs, whats, and buts. It's like you said, Dorian. This game's going to be won in the trenches, and I think we're going to see a lot of aggression from the first snap of the game, because the Raiders will want to come into the Chargers building and get the W. You know, that'd be 2 back-to-back W's against the Chargers. Chargers are still hurting and licking their wounds from the end of that game, you know, in the regular season. And it's a divisional rivalry. There's a lot at stake. Both teams that have splashed out big money on some big signings. I think Josh McDaniels has got he's got a great baseline ahead of him. And look, the Raiders are not messing about. You got rid of Alex Leatherwood. A lot of people are surprised that Gruden signed him at 17. But going back to what I said about Brandon Staley, not afraid to make changes. And I don't think Josh McDaniels is. And I think this is why both sets of head coaches will be gearing their players up to go out and be aggressive from the beginning. Penalties is going to be a massive thing because Chargers haven't been great. We've had a lot of yellow flags over the last few seasons. And again, you know, the last thing you want is a holding call or an offside, false start, especially earlier in the game, because trying to establish that base, establish that rhythm and that momentum is going to be vital for both teams. What I do think is it will be 2 different halves. I think if the Raiders have a good first half or the Chargers have a bad, vice versa, I think there will be times when both teams ebb and flow in and out of the game because it's week 1. You've got that chemistry. The Chargers didn't play any of their premier players in pre-season. For me, that's a double-edged sword. It's a risk, but it's also protecting for week 1 in the regular season. So again, there's so many narratives to this game, the way it could go, the way it might go. You talk about the running game. Isaiah Spiller doesn't look like he's going to play, or he may start late on in the game. We've got Sony Michel, because other than that, it was Austin Eckler. And this is the thing with the Chargers. Eckler is more of a hybrid back. You're going to see more receptions from him than carries the ball. So straight away, McDaniels is looking at the Chargers running game. So where's it going to come from? I predicted Sony Michel is going to score the first touchdown for the Chargers. I think we'll go on a long drive, get into deep into the red zone, and I think Michel will carry the ball 4 or 5 yards into the end zone. And I think that's where McDaniels will be looking and say, right, we need to prevent this from happening. We haven't had that sort of ability to carry the football for a long time outside Austin Eckler. And when you lay in on one player, ask him to do multiple repetitions, as we saw with Joe Bosa, the players just get gassed, they get injured, the defense finds them out, and then it's another part of the team that you've snubbed out, and it's less for the coordinators to worry about. So you know, a lot at stake here, a lot at stake.
So it's speaking of, like, you know, corners and linebackers and receivers and stuff like that, that's another matchup that I'm really interested, because I feel like right now with the Raiders, it's going to be really hard for certain defenses to go up against our players, especially with all the running backs that we have. I think we got about 4 running backs on our roster. And like I said, I think Sony Michel was a great pickup. He stays in LA. He won a Super Bowl with the Patriots and the Rams. So he knows Josh McDaniels some way, somehow. But at the same time, I'm pretty kind of nervous about, you know, our offensive line, but I think we'll be fine. We'll be settled in. Our offensive line played more than our skill players did in the preseason. So I think it's going to be really interesting to see how the linebackers and D-backs, they're going to have to pick their poison against our offense, because we have a good amount of weapons that Derek Carr has never had in the 9 years that he was there. So with me, you got Adams, Renfro, Waller. And then now you got Josh Jacobs that could probably catch the ball at the backfield with the rookie Zamir White. That's a change of pace back. And you never know. Hopefully, Keelan Cole can get up to the 53-man roster. We did re-sign him back to the practice squad. Hopefully, we can have a veteran get him moved up. But we do got a Tyron Johnson, another speedster that he's a former Charger that we had, that you had as well. So it's going to be about schemes, adjustments. It's going to be like you really going to have to pick your poison, because now, even though Asante Samuel, good defensive back, Derwin James, when he's healthy, he's one of the best in the league. I'm not going to sit there and lie. But when it comes to that, who else who else outside of J.C. Jackson and Asante Samuel is going to have to pick their poison with our offense? Because our offense last year, we scored 30 plus points a game with no number one receiver. So now we have these receivers against this good defense, and now Khalil Mack and Joey Bosa is going to have to get the car. He's going to have to get to him if you don't want the ball to go to Adams, because if you double team Adams, you're leaving Waller open. You double team Waller, you leave Renfro and Adams open. So what you think the Chargers scheme should be for our offense? And I'm gonna tell you the scheme for our defense against your offense. But what you think the scheme should be when it comes to,
well, listen,
Chargers have to pick their poison against us.
If we're not playing man coverage against Devontae Adams, we're in trouble. I don't think zone's an option. And this is, again, it's a strength and a weakness with having Derwin James being so prolific in so many different positions. It's not like he's an out-and-out free safety. You're going to play him in one or two positions. I think Brandon Staley is going to match it up and put Derwin James wherever he's needed. But we need Mike Davis or Asante Samuel to be glued to Devontae Adams, which is a massive risk. Devontae Adams will invariably score plenty of touchdowns this season. He'll get plenty of yardage. He'll move the chains. The Chargers, it's got to start with the pressure up top. Mm-hmm. Bosa, Khalil Mack, maybe Chris Rum coming in there. On a third down situation, that's where it's got to start. Stopping the run, because if we don't, then when the ball's up in the air downfield, that's when we're are sort of most vulnerable. Because Mike Davis, he's done well in preseason, but he's not the same caliber as J.C. Jackson, and this is where your depth chart already comes in week one. So. We've got Jasir Taylor. He's an unknown. Alohi Gilman, for me, he's not even in the same category, in the same zip code as Derwin James. Nazir Adderley, he has good games, he has bad games. And Asante Samuel, he shows flashes, but there's no consistency. And all it takes is a quick drive and get that ball from out of Carr's hands down to Devontae Adams, and straight away, if he gets that reception, moves the chains, or even scores a touchdown early on, it's going to set alarm bells running with the Chargers defensive backs. I think we have to play man coverage. If you're playing double coverage, then you're opening areas up for Josh McDaniels to exploit other areas of the field. Josh Jacobs, he ran $1.32 against the Bolts last season. We need to stop that. But the thing, what we've got to look at as well is DVOA stats from last year. Chargers fourth on offense, 26th on defense, and 28th on special teams. That has to change. And it's the same for the Raiders as well. 19, 17, and 21 ranked respectively in DVOA. Mm-hmm. Both teams need consistency. And if you start picking holes in those fragilities on Sunday, that's both teams. I think we could be in for an interesting game. It's the fringe players, Dorian, that are going for both teams that are going to have to step up, because the premier players will do their job. Waller, Renfro, they will do their job. Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, they will do their job. For me, Mike Williams and Keenan Allen are both a wide receiver one, because of the way that Williams plays. Now, the problem you've got, anybody out there, any of your watchers looking at fantasy, I would guard against drafting Chargers wide receivers. And the reason being, Justin Herbert passes the football to more players than anybody else in the National Football League. He's very judicial with the ball. So Keenan Allen might get a few targets. Then you've got, you've got Mike Williams on the other side. Then Eckler comes from out of the backfield and makes a catch. So we've got options. Not great for fantasy managers. It's great for the Chargers offense, moving the chains and scoring points. But don't expect Herbert to be going to Allen and Williams. It's one thing the Bolts have done for years. It's been predictable. You're not going to get that under Brandon Staley and Joe Lombardi, in my opinion. And it's the same for the defense as well. I think we've got to be able to mix and match it up. And that's why you'll see Derwin James playing in 5 or 6 different positions. Nickel or dime package, take your poison. I think it's up to McDaniels to exploit the defense rather than the Chargers defense trying to stop the Raiders offense, if that makes sense, because I think there's a bit of chemistry there with obviously Renfro, Waller and Derek Carr, and they'll be using that momentum. Devontae Adams could play for any team in the NFL. You can pick him up and drop him anywhere. All 32, he's in there. You can pick him up, and no doubt he's been out there on the practice field with the reps. Derek and Devontae, they've been doing it. They've obviously got that chemistry. The dude is so good. That's why you signed him from Green Bay.
Right.
So, I think there's chemistry there, and it's how McDaniels tries to exploit the Chargers defense. Like you said, Dorian, we're doing James on his game. He's arguably the best in his position, but he is healthy at the minute, touch wood. But we will rely on him. The Chargers drafted J.C. Jackson for a reason, because interceptions have been a problem. So it goes back to what I said before. The fringe players have to step up and make those interceptions. One interception could seriously upset either quarterback in this game, because there's a lot on the line. The last thing that Derek Carr wants, or Justin Herbert, is an early pick, and a pick 6 would be a disaster in this scenario.
Yeah, you hit the money on a lot of things, man, and I have to say that this is what I have to say about it. Now, I know everybody is talking in the chat. I'm not ignoring y'all, but we're just trying to get our thoughts about it, and we're going to come back to the chat. So we definitely going to answer some questions in the chat and stuff of that nature. The Chargers fans and the Raiders fans are arguing in the chat, so we just gonna let them argue. So because this is a rivalry game, and it makes sense. And I feel like it's if you try to play man coverage on a Devontae Adams, I think that's where he at his best, when you do have one-on-one coverage with him. So as a receiver, I'm kind of nervous if you want to play man to man against our offense, knowing that Hunter Renfrow I'm not gonna lie, he dominated Derwin James in the first 2 games last season. So I don't know about the one-on-one matchup, but I could completely understand, because if you double, you leaving someone open to succeed.
Yeah, and it's the same as the Raiders. It's the same as the Raiders. You put 2 on Allen, you've got Mike Williams wide. You put 2 on Mike Williams, you've got Donald Parham Jr., and we know that he's been catching 75-yard missiles. So there's so many interesting matchups here. But Dorian, it's gonna come down to penalties and execution. Chargers just dropped a lot of footballs last year. Herbert is not going to slow down that velocity. That ball comes out of his hand at Mach 5. It's not for him to slow the football down. It's for the receivers to adapt and be able to catch that football. And we've said all off-season, eat, sleep, jugs machine. That was the saying on the Charged Up Bolts podcast. Even Austin Heckler was dropping the football. We can't afford that to happen, because we're in a position here. We've already said the AFC West is brutal this year. You're gonna get limited chances in games to make plays, and the last thing you want is turnovers, because turnovers are costly, penalties are costly, and you see what the Chargers have done in previous years, where they've managed to dig themselves in a hole and they can't get out of it. I mean, The Raiders have done it as well. I mean, it's 2002 under Bill Callahan, last time you won the division. Chargers 2009. It's about time the narrative changed in the division. But
yes,
Kansas City are there, man. Patrick Mahomes is still Patrick Mahomes. You know, Travis Kelce, still Travis Kelce. I think there's still a lot of pressure on the Chiefs, but we have to step up to the plate. And now we've got Russell Wilson in division, which is a massive upgrade on what the Denver lot had. And this is why Sunday's game is so important. Raiders cannot afford to go 0-1. Chargers, in my opinion, cannot afford to go 0-1 because we're sat here now thinking that we could possibly make the playoffs. I'm talking Raiders and Chargers. But what is that narrative and feeling like heading into week 2 on the back of a loss? It's not a good feeling, is it?
So we do have a question, and Salvatore Bruno says, I think he already answered this if you did not see it. He said, ask the Charger fan who is covering Waller, Renfro, and Devontae Adams, and can they stop our run? Now, one thing I can say about the Chargers defense last year, yes, it was good against the pass, but it damn sure was not great against the run. Y'all had real issues against the run last season, and even our offensive line struggled to run the football last season, and Josh Jacobs in week 18 had a magnificent game against y'all. So even though you probably already answered that question, but as far as stopping the run,
well, like I
what
said,
would be your factor as far as stopping the run wise?
Well, the one I've already mentioned is Sebastian Joseph Day, and then at nose tackle, Austin Johnson, 2 absolute beasts. Now, they're 2 immediate upgrades. Kyle Van Noy's come in as an inside linebacker, so he's going to be there. And then Jerry Tillery, he is another spotlight on the Chargers roster. I think there was Chargers fans out there that would like to have seen Tillery move on. They were surprised that he actually got a spot. He's another one that's put on meat in the offseason. He's put on some muscle, but he's got a lot to prove. And this is why I think the aggression is going to have to be controlled, because if it's not, we saw a lot of blown tackles last year. Kenneth Murray was tackling fresh air. That needs to stop. These are guys, professional football players. And if they haven't learned how to tackle now and get the mechanics right in the offseason, well, then they don't deserve a spot on the 53-man roster. So I think Sebastian Joseph Day and Austin Johnson, Van Noy are going to be keys. And what we need to see.
I totally forgot y'all added Van Noy. I totally forgot about that.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, what we need to see from a Chargers perspective is some big plays by Josh Jacobs, but getting nailed early. Because if he breaks through and he starts having 6, 7, 8 yard carries in the first quarter, you know straight away we've got a problem. There's a problem with the scheme. There's a problem with the mechanics. There's a problem with the mental state of the players. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So that's it. This is what I said. McDaniels needs to test the defense early. The same way as the Chargers need a test, because they'll want to know in their minds, right, we can stop the run now. We've got some momentum. Bring it on. We'll stop the run. Because anyone that's letting Rex Burkhead run over 100 yards on you in 2021 needs to have a serious chat with themselves. And that's what Tom Telesco did, bringing all those aforementioned players. But Jacobs, he's strong. You know, Britton Brown, we don't know what he's going to look like. Zamir White, going to add a bit of speed there. So it's going to be a good test. It's going to be a good test.
And people keep forgetting about Brandon Bowden too. Like, that's another guy that we have on our roster that we didn't see in the preseason. We saw Josh Jacobs in the preseason. We saw Zamir, and we saw Britton Brown. We have not seen Brandon Bowden at all this year, but we're going to see him in week 1, and I think he might be the other power back that we have, but can catch the ball off the backfield as well. So it's going to be really interesting to see how these offenses and these defense operates during the game. Shout out to everybody that's in the chat. If y'all have not subscribed to Charged Up Bolt podcast, the link is definitely in the description. Make sure y'all subscribe to them. They have a great podcast going on over there, and we just talking our stuff when it comes to this game, because it's a lot that we could get into. We could trash talk it if we want to. We could talk about how many Super Bowls they won. Chargers have not won a Super Bowl, but we just saying they've been there, but have not won Super Bowls. But but we can't talk either. We have not won a Super Bowl since 2002. So I mean, that's way long overdue. We had a chance to do it in 2016, but Carr broke his leg. We had a chance to do it last year, but we got robbed by the Cincinnati Bengals. So hey, this is a brand new year, brand new time. And for me, what are your impact players? It's not even for the Chargers. What players are you concerned about? Okay, how can I put this? Okay, so what defensive players on our side of the ball for the Raiders that you concerned about going up against that Chargers offense?
Max Crosby, straight away. Crosby's a beast. There's probably 6 or 7 premier defensive ends in the league, and I think Max Crosby is one of them. He's athletic. He's one of those players that if he sees an opportunity, if he sees a gap, he will go after it. And obviously Chandler Jones. And again, if I'm them two dudes right now, I'm going to be looking at Chargers tape from last year and looking at Trey Pipkins' mechanics and saying, this is how we beat Trey Pipkins. Now, I know you guys obviously Raiders fans. Yeah. There are ways of stopping Joey Bosa. You need someone that's got a big frame. If you look at the game when the Chargers played the Patriots in the 2018 playoffs, Trent Brown, he was kryptonite to Melvin Ingram and Joey Bosa. So Joey Bosa can be stopped, and so can Max Crosby. But it's going to take a team effort to do that. So yeah, definitely for me, Crosby and Chandler Jones, they're ones to watch, because again, we've got questions over our offensive line, that right hand side. You know, the Chargers didn't go back into draft to get another offensive tackle. They took the guard in Zion Johnson. He's going to be an absolute beast. Watch him closely, because I think he'll add some real value to the Chargers offense.
And for me against our offense against your defense, of course, Khalil Mack and Joey Bosa, I think they are the two obvious. I think Khalil Mack wants to get some lick back, knowing that the fact that he's back in the division and he's going against his former team. So like I said, we've been talking about that storyline as well. And one thing about it, I'm really kind of nervous about is that knowing that Khalil Mack and Joey Bosa could play on each side of the edge. They're going to try to do whatever to have Joey Bosa play left or Khalil Mack play right, and vice versa. So even that, of course, Derwin James is going to be one of the star players on this defense. I'm not really too concerned about the linebacker position for the Chargers. I mean, Van Noy knows Josh McDaniels. He knows that offense. Understanding that, but this is even though it's the offense, but we still have skilled players that make the offense look good at the end of the day. Yeah. So, I mean, as far as the linebackers go, I'm not really too. I mean, Van Noy is going to be the leader. Don't get me wrong.
Troy Reader, watch out for Troy Reader.
Okay,
we're expecting big things from him. Drew Tranquil is questionable for the game. Drew's a big hitter. There's a lot of love for Drew, but it doesn't look like he's going to play. But it comes back to the Kenneth Murray will get opportunities potentially late on in the game. He came back into practice late on because he had that foot surgery. So, you might see a few opportunities for Kenneth. But every player on both sides of the ball, on both teams, are going to have to make every play count. Because I think with your defense and offense and the skill players that we've got on both sides of the football, there's room there to exploit weaknesses. And when we get into that, we're going to see points on the board. And you don't want that. We don't. And we can't afford to go down and score 3. We need to be putting 6 on the board. Red zone conversions are massively important. We struggled with that at times last year. And our special teams has been historically garbage. We're hoping to see some improvements there, but who knows how that's going to look. Dustin Hopkins, can he get the 4.5, nearly 5 seconds airtime? Who knows? There's been talk on our podcast that we need to play conservative and just play it safe on special teams and don't do anything crazy. But again, this is another opportunity for the Raiders to try and exploit the Chargers' special teams gaps, which we've seen in preseason.
Which we seen with Hunter Renfrow on the fake punt. We seen that. So I was kind of surprised about that, even though that I think we lost that game against Shaw, but still, that I was not expecting Hunter Renfrow to come up and make that tackle like that. So the guy is little with a big heart when it comes to that. So
I've got a question for you. We spoke about probably everyone apart from Justin Herbert. As a Raider Nation, what is your take on Justin Herbert? What do you guys feel about him?
I'm not going to say he's a trash quarterback because I don't think he is. What I think is that the media is praising him a little bit too high right now.
Too high?
I feel like they're praising him a little bit too high. Yes, he did have 2 good seasons, completely understanding that. And I just feel like they're overdoing it. I feel like they feel like he's better than. It's been times I heard him, they say he's better than Lamar Jackson. I heard things that he's better than Russell Wilson. I heard that he's better than Patrick Mahomes. I think the media makes it a little bit too high for him. Justin Herbert is talented. He's one of the top 5, probably arguably a top 5 quarterback in this league. Absolutely. So in my opinion, Justin Herbert, he's something to look forward to every week as a defense. He really is. And I'm just going to put it that way. I don't think Justin Herbert is a cupcake or none of that nature, because I could talk trash like, oh, Justin Herbert, whatever. But put respect to put respect, and taking my Raider fandom out of it and just talking as an NFL fan. Justin Herbert is not something to be messed with.
Yeah, I'm with you, Dorian. I like to see all the best players staying healthy. You know, at the end of the day, we love football. We've got our teams that we root for, and we've got our rivalries that we hope don't win. But from my perspective, I like to see the best players staying healthy. So, you know, it's easy to trash talk players and say he's garbage, but actually, I think the game's a much better spectacle when you've got everyone healthy on the field and showing what they can do.
So what is your thoughts about Derek Carr? Because I feel like Derek Carr is doing it. He's been doing it for the last 9 years, right?
So,
and he's been doing it with not really a true number one. I think the last true number one he really had was like Michael Crabtree, Amari Cooper. And other than that, it's not really been a true number one, like a superstar number one. So he's been like you said, like I feel like a little bit overly hyped from the media, but the media with Derek Carr, they underestimate him every year. So, you know, what's your thoughts on Derek Carr?
There's probably, in my opinion, there's probably 11 franchises that don't need a quarterback right now. And the Raiders are probably one of those. I don't see Derek Carr as being an elite quarterback, but he's an established NFL pro that's capable of getting a team to the playoffs, and he's already proved that. If you're upgrading your roster year on year out, you don't need to be going to the draft next year and replacing Derek Carr. You've got Derek Carr until he decides he retires. Right. And that is a massive positive, because you can look elsewhere. You don't look at the Bengals last year. The worst O-line in football. They got to the Super Bowl. And it's the same, you know, all over the field. You don't necessarily need the best players everywhere. You need consistency. And Derek Carr's had his critics, you know, but he's capable, and he's a proven quarterback at this level. Look at all the hype around Tua, you know. Look at all the hype around your man at Jacksonville. His name escapes me. Help me out.
Hold on, say that part again.
Who's the guy at Jacksonville?
Trevor Lawrence.
Trevor Lawrence. You can go back into the draft and say, we're going to get him because he's an upgrade on Derek Carr. Well, actually, if you'd have done that, you're wasting time, because Derek Carr's, okay, those guys are new to the game. Tua is suspect. Lawrence looks absolutely garbage. I know he's playing in a poor league, but Derek Carr's established. I don't think the Raider Nation needs to be worried about Carr. He's a football player that you've got to respect. He's talented, and he's got some great weapons. And if people disrespect him on the field, he'll make them pay. He's not going to be an MVP, and I don't think people are going to be rushing to try and make trades and sign him in free agency or anything like that, but is what the Raiders need. The Raiders don't need to be going looking for a new quarterback anytime soon. So that for me is a bit of a praise for Derek Carr, because there's teams around that league that would take Derek Carr right now as their starting quarterback. That's no
exactly.
doubt. No
and
doubt.
I feel like and I feel like the media they put so much on Derek Carr. I feel like they put so much on our team. I don't know, it's because of Al Davis. I don't know what it is with the past with us, but Derek Carr has thrown for almost 5,000 pass yards last year. Actually, 4,800 to be exact. I mean, his interception touchdown ratio wasn't that big. But I mean, Herbert still had a good year too. He had about he didn't have as many. He had more touchdowns than Carr. I can say that much. But one thing I feel about Carr now, I feel like he could go. Him and Herbert can do 5,000. I think both of them can. Just the way the offense is set up in the league now, and it's so gravitating to the offense, I think both of them could go 5,000 yards this year. I just really think so.
Yeah, I mean, Herbert, 5,000 yards last year and 38 touchdowns, you know. He's elite. It's as simple as that. But I think the difference with Herbert, he's athletic and he's intelligent. There's no point in being athletic if you can't learn the playbook, and you've got to be dedicated. We're already hearing now that Herbert is out on the practice field way longer than Phillip Rivers ever did. There's people in sport that are absolutely dedicated to their game and they will never deviate that. You see people in sport that do the bare minimum and get themselves into trouble, don't look after their bodies. And I think that's where you get the lines between success and failure. But, and there is a but, Tom Telesco and Brandon Staley have invested heavily in this roster. They've got the pieces to go onto a playoff run, but if they don't, they're going to find themselves on the hot seat. So again, it's expectation management. The fans expect. I do, from my chair, I think that the Raiders expect this season as well, because you had the playoff run last year with difficult head coaching circumstances. Now you've got an established football head coach in Josh McDaniels, who's hungry. He'll be hungry for success, hungry to take on, like you said, that Al Davis type mentality of winning football games. But it does add pressure. You know, I don't know what you guys think every week. I support a soccer team that are absolutely garbage. If you've ever seen Ted Lasso, you'll know Sheffield Wednesday. I support them, but I say they're going to win every week, because I always look at glass half full mentality as opposed to a glass half empty. So there's no point in waking up in the morning thinking we're going to get defeated, and invariably it happens.
Right.
But I think the expectations this year are so high for all four teams in the division. You know, I'm sure Denver and I will be sat here rubbing their hands thinking, yeah, man, we've got Russell Wilson, you know, and I think that's the same. You guys brought in Devontae Adams, one of the signings of the offseason. So there's lots at stake. And I think expectations are high, especially in week one when the snap's not being played.
So Night Owl asked me, where am I from? I'm from Philadelphia, but I did travel to Oakland, California as a kid, growing up back and forth from the West Coast to the East Coast. And my guy over here is living in the UK right now. And he's like, how many hours ahead of you are from me right now?
So we're actually living in London. We're 5 hours ahead of you guys.
Okay. Awesome. So I know this is supposed to be a talk about, you know, both games going in, but I do want to say, you know, my condolences to Queen Elizabeth, you know, passing away and everything of that nature at 96 years old. So how is it over there right now, you know, the hearing of her passing? So, I mean, I just want to take football out of it at this point, because I know you over there right now, and I know you seeing it and you experience it. So what is actually going on? I don't know what happened. Hopefully he can come back on. I don't know if I said anything wrong of that nature. Hopefully he'll come back on. But basically RIP to the Queen. You know, and hopefully he come back on. I don't know what happened. The city of brother love, much love from London. Yes. So I don't know what happened right there, but what's going on, everybody? Hopefully he can come back in. Let me just message him right now. Oh, there you go. There you go. Let me just get this going here. I was like, man, what did I say wrong? What happened?
No, internet glitch. Yeah, sorry. So yeah, it wasn't. News broke on Wednesday that Her Majesty the Queen wasn't very well, and then Thursday people got wind that something wasn't quite right. Obviously, she passed away. It's quite a somber time. I think the Queen's respected around the globe because she's been neutral and the way that she approaches the public, the world leaders, and she's got time for whether whether trips to Kenya, Uganda, Australia, the States. I know former presidents and your current president passed on their condolences. Even Vladimir Putin has passed on condolences. But for the British public, it's quite a somber moment. A lot of upset because there is a lot of deep respect for the royal family. There's also a lot of opposition for the royal family, as you're going to get anywhere. But it's very strange. I joined the army in 1993. God save the Queen. I signed an oath of allegiance to her. And all of a sudden now we don't have a queen, we have a king. It's very surreal. It doesn't feel like it's actually happened. But as you said, at 96, it's...
she lived one hell of a life.
Yeah, she did. And you could argue that she's had one hell of a life and a luxury life at that. But, her father didn't. He died relatively young. But I mean, look, I think, I've got American friends up in New York State, Buffalo Bills fans. We go on vacation quite a lot to Mexico, and we always hook up with the folks from the US over there, and they're always asking, how is things at home, and always showing interest in the royal family. And I think there is a connection and a bond between the UK and the US. Certainly, when I was out in Oklahoma State in 2010, getting ready to go out to Afghanistan, the local population were so welcoming and thankful of obviously our support for the United States. So I think there is a bond there that goes back to the First and Second World War, and mutual respect on both sides of the pond. But yeah, it's really grateful that we've had lots of messages of support from all football fans from across the states, asking how things are over here. But yeah, a lot of people are grieving. I mean, we actually finished work early today. The new King, Charles III, he gave a public speech at 1 Eastern. So we were all allowed to go home early doors to get in and watch that. Soccer's suspended this week. There's no soccer. There's no Premier League. There's no English Football League this weekend. That's been suspended, which a lot of people are not happy about because they want to do the minute's applause for Her Majesty the Queen. They'll have to wait till next week now. So that's been suspended, and I've got no doubt that I'm just guessing that there might be some announcements during the games on Sunday in the National Football League. I don't know.
So just to let y'all know, we because as Raiders fans, we hear that it's Chargers fans out there. We're like, it's Chargers fans out there. Where? Just because most of us, like, when they moved from San Diego and moved back to LA, I'm just going to be honest with you. The Raiders still own LA, even though y'all back in LA, even though the Rams is back in LA. The Raiders is going to be in SoFi Stadium, and it's going to look silver and black, and it's going to look more black than anything. So it's going to be more silver and black than anything.
There's about 53,000 Chargers season ticket holders, so it could be a 50-50 split.
It could be, but even though people that still live in LA that still rock with the Raiders is going to show out. Yeah. And then you got the Oakland fans that when they move to Oakland, it's going to come there. And then now you have those Las Vegas Raiders fans. So now you got 3 different cities all coming into one. You might see more black than the sky blue and yellow, which I'm not going to lie. I think the colors are dope. I mess with my friend, right? Because my friend Jake Silva. He lives in Las Vegas, but he's a Chargers fan, and he's a podcaster too, Snick Sports Talk Show, all that stuff. And I always mess with him, and I'll be like, man, them Johnson and Johnson jerseys and stuff like that, just be trash talking as usual. And I'm like, you live in Las Vegas and you are a Chargers fan? He's like, it's a long story, bro. That's what happens when you live in San Diego. I said, okay, I can completely understand. You lived in San Diego first, and then you moved to Las Vegas. makes hella sense. So is outside of your podcast, is it any other Chargers fans out there in the UK?
Yeah, look. I'm not going to lie, because of Dan Marino, majority of fans over here are Dolphins. There's an awful lot of New England Patriots fans. I think they're just like Man United fans, jump on the bandwagon. We saw an upturn in Seattle fans when they won the Super Bowl. But yeah, I mean, when there's plenty of Chargers groups over here. When the Bolts came over in 2018. They put on a couple of pubs for the players to meet, and it was swamped. You don't necessarily see many Jets fans over here, but they do exist. All 32 teams are supported. As I said to you at the beginning of the podcast, you'll see an awful lot of guys in the UK and girls wearing New York Yankees and Raiders hats.
Right.
This is a fashion brand. Not all of them necessarily root for those franchises, but you've got your fair share of Raiders fans over here as well. I do believe there's a UK Raiders podcast. Or you need to go on look on the NFL UK forums, and you'll see all the different fans.
I'm definitely check that out and have some Raider content creators from UK and come up on the show and talk some Raiders football. We do got Aussie Raider, a Fasky Raider. They are from the UK as well. They are Raiders podcasters as well. I totally forgot about those two. They're building their channels up as well. So let's get to the final prediction of this game. Now, me knowing the fact that we are the home team, but we're the away team at the same time, I am going to go first, and I think this is going to be the game of the week. You know how they do the America's Game of the Week, and of course they're going to put the Buccaneers in the Cowboys as the America's Game of the Week, even though that's a Sunday Night Football game. But I feel like this game is the game of the week for all the NFL. Y'all gotta tune into this game. This is week 1 playoff game. This is exactly what it is. But I think Derek Carr get his revenge of losing in SoFi Stadium last year. I think Justin Herbert is going to go off. And I think this is going to be, because week 1, you got to fail to realize your starters didn't play all preseason. And it's going to get live hitting. It's going to count. Mistakes are going to happen in this game. Obviously, we saw that, even though that the Bills gave up 4 turnovers and still won the game.
Yeah.
So things is going to change, but I feel like our team is going to get the edge. I think we got some of the best special teams in Daniel Carlson and AJ Cole. And I think we win by a field goal. And my final prediction for this game, and before I get into that, it's really, like I said, it's going to come down to the trenches. It's going to come down who can get more penetration to the offense. Pause. If you get more penetration, or get to the quarterback more, or if this offensive lines can protect our quarterbacks and our running backs or get the ball to our receivers. So my final score for this game, 31-27 Raiders.
Wow. Well, that's interesting because the guys, John, who's over in the States, who co-hosts with me, and the 2 guys over here, they predicted a close game. I predicted the Chargers will go out and open a kind of whoop-ass, purely because of what happened in the game in Las Vegas. I think there's a lot of scores to be settled there, and I think a lot of the Chargers players are highly peed off. But that also could backfire, because if you don't keep your emotions and you're giving away penalties, you're drawing an offside flag, it's going to be dangerous. But I do think the Chargers will go over 30 points in this game, and I think we'll hold the Raiders to 20. So I'm saying the Chargers will go over 30, and we'll hold you to 20 or under.
So you just said 40, right?
I was joking with the guys in the podcast. I always come out with some crazy stats. Every year I predict in preseason that we'll sweep the Chiefs, and a couple of times we've done it, but we try not to. We have a bit of fun on the Charge Up Bolts podcast. We try and keep it light. I always think that we're going to win every game, which is obviously absurd.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what team I'm rooting for. I'll always say we're going to win. Otherwise, there's no point. And I know it's not realistic to think that. But I'll tell you right now, you can come at me after. I don't care. I have predicted we'll go 5-0. But that doesn't mean anything.
First 5 weeks?
Yeah, that doesn't mean anything because we saw how last year they were talking about Seattle, Russell Wilson being the MVP, and look at how the Steelers started. It doesn't matter how you start; it's how you finish. But I do think with we always give the Chiefs a tough run, and I think we'll win one, lose one with the Chiefs. And then after that, it's a winnable schedule for us. But I do think we'll go 5-0. But that doesn't mean anything because if we only win 9 games next season, that's the season over. But yeah, so I'm going over 30 for the Chargers and holding the Raiders to 20. But who knows what could happen? I don't want to see any field goal wins, Dorian. That's not going to be good for my heart.
Yeah, so I mean, hey, don't underestimate AJ Cole and Daniel Carlson. You know, them 2 guys is Pro Bowlers. You know.
I mean, Denzel Perryman, he'll want to make his mark.
Yeah. And you know, he hasn't been talked about a lot this offseason. So you do want to watch out for him. And he's been very healthy going into this season. So
are you guys all in on
linebackers versus veteran linebackers? It's going to be fun. It's going to be a really exciting game.
You guys all in on Perryman? Are you happy with him?
Yes, I think I'm happy with him. Yes, he do get nicked up here and there, but he for some point in the last season he did lead the league in tackles. So he's good against the run. He could definitely fill the hole. Coverage is, of course, with linebackers, coverage is always an issue when it comes to linebackers covering. But I think we should be all in on Denzel Perryman. Just right now, the way our salary cap is set up, in the way our dead cap is, because we got rid of so many people.
Yeah,
it's kind of hard now because they're trying to get a deal for Waller. Then they might focus on Denzel Perryman right after that. So hopefully that can happen. But before we do this, I want to shout out to Jack Kenna for the $20 super chat. He said, "You brought the Queen of England to the Raiders chat. Ireland, i.e., has been persecuted by the England. My family fought for England versus Ireland in the 1600-1603 war, killing the Catholics, and I don't like politics. English kiss." Okay. Thank you for the $20 super chat. Really do appreciate it. You know, we had to talk about it because, you know, he's from the UK, you know what I'm saying? So I didn't want to leave that out due to the fact that we're doing this show, but at the end of the day, his country is mourning. You know, they mourning the Queen. So I just wanted to, you know, bring light to that and not talk about football in that aspect. You know what I'm saying?
The dude's entitled to his opinion, but just for his knowledge, a lot of the Irish Republican key figures actually came out in support of Her Majesty and sent their condolences, including Sinn Féin. So I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, just leave it at that then. But thank you, Jack Kenna, for the $20 super chat. We really do appreciate it. And yeah, I think we're really in on Perriman. We're really in on Waller. We just got to figure out how we're going to finesse getting them their long-term contracts. There's a contract year for Jonathan Abram. It's a contract year for Cleveland Farrell. It's a contract year for Josh Jacobs. We all declined their 5th-year options. So a lot of people are playing for a contract in this season for the Las Vegas Raiders. So this game is really going to be fun. I cannot wait to do. I am doing a live commentary of that game on Sunday. But plugging your social medias and because we do got some Chargers fans in the chat. Even though the Raider Nation, I know how y'all is, but just plug your social medias in the chat and let them know where they can find you at.
So you can find us at chargedup_bolts. The podcast handle is chargeduppod, part of the Pigskin Podcast Network. So yeah, come and say hello.
Yeah, and if you want to subscribe to their channel, I put the link in the description. Make sure you subscribe to their channel. I don't know how long y'all had the channel for, but
This is our 3rd season. Yeah, this is our 3rd season.
Okay, it's your 3rd season. Okay, so you know, just keep working at it, keep grinding, and this is going to be a really, really great game, man. And I really do appreciate you coming up here. You know, I know it's late over there. I know it's like 11, probably about almost 11 o'clock there now, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, 11:15. Yeah.
Yeah, it's 11:15 is late. It's only 6 o'clock over here. So, and I appreciate you, you know, on a late night over there, to come over and do this show. And it was so much fun being on here talking football with you. And we're going to have to do this again at the end of the season because we see y'all again at the end of the year. And by this time, I could probably come over to your channel and
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, 100%, buddy. Thanks for having me on. Good luck for the season. You never know. Chargers, Raiders, 1-2 heading into the playoffs out of the division. That'd be good.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. But thank y'all so much for tuning into the show. And thank you for coming on again, man. And I can't wait to. I'm gonna talk. Even during the game, I'm going to be messaging you on Twitter, talking about the game and everything of that nature. So we could just, keep that communication going, and we'll see you at the end of the season after this game, and then I'll be over there. We're gonna have some fun.
Cheers, buddy.
All right, man. You have a blessed night.
See you later. Bye-bye.
All right, you too. And that is my guy from Charged Up Bolts podcast, man. It's been really, really fun to do these type of shows every single week, man. I'm so excited to do these shows all over again. I did them last year. Now I'm back doing them this year, man. But the Raider Nation is going to win this game. Y'all know this.
Touchdown, Raiders!
Y'all know that we going to win this game. Y'all know for a fact that the Raider Nation is going to win this game, man. But I bet it. I kept it real clean. I kept it real respectful because, both of these teams are really, really good. And this division is going to be very, very good, y'all. And it's going to be all day, man. It's going to be all day. But Jack, I understand, with everything about the Queen Elizabeth thing. I could completely understand, bro. But we're not trying to get political over here. I just wanted to shed some light on the situation that's going on where he's at the moment. So make sure y'all subscribe to Charge Up Bolt podcast if you are a Chargers fan in this chat right now. But I just try to keep it clean, try to keep it real, because at the end of the day, when you do these type of shows, yes, it's going to be trash talk, yes, it's going to be stuff like that, but you got to be knowledgeable about your team. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I like to bring people on that knows, they're really knowledgeable about their team. But I wanted to do this show for y'all, and I did do this show. Thank you so much for tuning in. If y'all have not subscribed to the Spotlight Raiders Talk and you are a Raiders fan, I would highly suggest that you subscribe, hit the bell button, and get the latest news, ladies and gentlemen. We got 47 likes. Let's get the 50 likes right now. Let's get the 50 likes before we end this live stream. We have 3 more likes to get the 50 likes, man. And I'm going to keep doing these every single week. Next Wednesday, I will have AZ Sports Fan on here. He's a YouTube creator for the Arizona Cardinals. That's a game that I'm supposed to be doing next week, and that's a game that I'm going to be doing with AZ Sports Fan. We're going to do that week 2 preview right here on the Spotlight Raiders Talk, man. Yeah, man, as far as being disrespectful to the guests, please don't be disrespectful to the guests. That's one thing that, I feel on my channel, because I remember my channel used to be very, very, very disrespectful. It used to be. But now I'm getting to a point where I'm growing up in the podcast where we can still have great football conversations against our rival teams. So I suggest that don't be disrespectful in the chat. You don't know what these people are going through. They get time out of their day to come on my show to talk football. So we don't want to be disrespectful to guests. Understand they are our opponents, and that's what our players and our fans and people in the organization have to do to help them win those games. But us as fans, we have to be very, very, very respectful. I understand that it's a division rival. I completely do. But I'm just trying to change what the Spotlight Raiders Talk is. I'm not trying to be a drama person. I'm not trying to be disrespectful. In all 18 games, I would have 18 different people on this channel. So we're going to have to rock it out some way, somehow. So with that being said, y'all, I really, really, really do appreciate the love and the support from everyone here. Make sure you go to fanatics.com. I'm going to send the link on my Instagram. If you have not followed me on Instagram, make sure you do at Spotlight Raiders Talk. And if you're following me on Twitter, make sure you follow me on Twitter at Spotlight Art and Talk. I do have an affiliate partnership with Fanatics for all Raiders gear. So if you do want that link to buy your Raiders gear and get it on a discount or get free shipping or everything of that nature, make sure you inbox me on Instagram at Spotlight Raiders Talk. And I promise you, you will have a promo code. You will probably have a discount code. You probably will have stuff that's going on with Fanatics. So I am in partnership with Fanatics for all Las Vegas Raiders gear. Thank you so much, man. Did you mail that letter? LOL. Yes, I did mail the letter. I mailed the letter, whatever you say. So with that being said, y'all, thank y'all so much for tuning in to another show of Spotlight Raiders Talk Live. That is our week 1 preview. We will see you back here on Sunday at 4:25 Eastern Standard Time for the Las Vegas Raiders going up against the Los Angeles Chargers, live play-by-play in reaction. So thank you so much for being here. And we will do Reaction Monday. Reaction Monday is coming back. Nothing But Raiders podcast. Possibly supposed to be coming back Tuesday, but I'm not too sure. I got to talk to the guys about that. I mean, no disrespect, but I know I completely understand that, Jack. But I'm just saying for everybody else. I'm just saying for everybody else at that point. But if you need some Raider old school jerseys, just inbox me. I can send you a link so you could go get those jerseys, and I can definitely hook you up there. But thank you so much, man. I appreciate all y'all being here, man, for the Spotlight Raiders Talk. Make sure you comment, like, and subscribe, man. And we'll see you in the next live stream or in the next video. Peace, love, blessings, and have a great Friday.
Hi, my name is AJ Cole, and I'm the punter for the Las Vegas Raiders, and you are now watching Spotlight Raiders Talk.
To last with the webs I'm weaving, I could change the past with all I'm achieving. Got my foot on gas, never stop competing. If you break like glass, then this life's gonna eat 'em. Make mistakes real fast, then you learn how to beat 'em. If you take off the cast, you can see all the healing. If the pain's in the past, move on